Hello and welcome back to Restoration DIY, or if this is your first visit, then it's good to have you here and I hope you enjoy this video. Having just returned from a holiday, I decided to make another offcuts bowl, so without further ado, let's get into it. After cutting the offcuts into manageable chunks, I arrange them in a plastic mixing bowl that I use as a mould. The only rule here is to keep the spaces between each offcut to the minimum to reduce the amount of epoxy resin required to fill it. And with the mould full of offcuts, it was time to mix the resin. For this project, I chose a single colour, sunny orange, and I reckoned it would take between 2 to 3 batches to fill it. For a start, I mixed 2 batches of my usual 2-part resin in a 2:1 ratio, each containing 150 grams of part B to 300 grams of part A, mixed for 2 minutes, then I added the coloured mica powder, then mixed for a further 2 minutes. There's no real trick to mixing the resin, though I always try to get as close as possible to the correct quantities, and I never mix for less than 4 minutes, as recommended by the manufacturer. As it turned out, I could only get 2 full batches into the casting, so with that done, I placed it in the pressure pot and added the usual 50 to 55 psi, and I left it overnight to cure. It's the next day and the casting is cured, though some of the resin has been absorbed into the offcuts, reducing the overall height of the blank, but I figured there was enough left to turn a decent bowl. After marking the centre, I drilled an 8mm hole for the woodworm screw, and then I mounted the blank to my brand new Stratos FU230 lathe. This is its first outing. I may do an in-depth review at a later date, but first impressions are, it's awesome. After safely securing the blank to the lathe, I began turning. First off, I had to remove enough material to get it balanced and to round. To begin with, I used the Easywood Tools full-size finisher to gently remove the outer layers. It quickly became obvious that I would have to remove quite a lot of the resin to get down to the timber offcuts. So I turned the speed up to around 1100 RPM and took some heavier cuts to get down to the finished surface. I was lucky with this casting because there were no voids in the resin. So in no time I had the side of the bowl to shape, and after using the skew chisel to remove the tool marks, I moved on to shaping the rim. For this I first used a 3/8 bowl gouge, then finished up with a carbide cutter to tidy things up a bit. So with the rim roughly to shape, I moved on to the base. I began with cutting the mortise, firstly defining the outer edge with the thin parting tool, followed by the 3/8 bowl gouge to remove the inner material, then the dovetail cutter to cut the dovetail. Simplicity seemed to be the order of the day, so I kept the base flat, with a gentle curve up into the side. With the outer edge of the base nice and flat, I removed the last piece inside the mortise, cleaned it up with a skew chisel, and then it was time for sanding, from 80 to 3000 grit. After sanding, I went through my usual finishing process for resin projects, beginning with a good clean down with denatured alcohol, followed by a single application of sanding sealer, which I denibbed with a non-abrasive Scotch pad. I followed that with Yorkshire grit, just one coat, cleaned away till no more residue is being picked up on the paper towel. Next up, the two Merkur products, beginning with Polar Shine 10, just one application, thoroughly cleaned away, ready for Polar Shine 5, also thoroughly cleaned away with paper towel. And to finish off, Hampshire Sheen Gloss Finishing Wax, 2 coats, polished off with clean paper towel to leave a deep shine. With the blank turned around, I began hollowing out the interior of the bowl. The 3/8 bowl gouge was first up to remove the waste material. With the new lathe there's much more room to manoeuvre the tool handle, and with the speed up at about 1000 to 1100 RPM, the gouge did a great job of cutting away the resin and offcuts. I decided to switch over to the full-size carbide cutter. As I had got further into the blank, there was more resin than offcuts to remove, and carbide does a better job, especially with a negative rate cutter fitted. I worked my way down to near the finished surface in the base, then I concentrated on cutting away the rest of the material. I was aiming to get the side and the base thickness down to around 10mm or 3/8 of an inch. So as you watch this project taking shape, I would like to thank you all for watching. For me, this is turning into an incredible voyage of discovery into the world of YouTube and social media. Being able to share my wood turning and woodworking projects in this way is very satisfying. I'm in this for the long term, and I have many more projects to come. So if I could ask you to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe, it'll be a massive help. I used the bowl gouge to square up the rim and give it a flatter top, and then I used the carbide to add a small radius to the inner and outer edge. With a few more gentle passes of the carbide cutter to blend and fair the inside, the shaping was finished. Then it was time for sanding, from 80 to 3000 grit. Sanding done, I cleaned down with denatured alcohol, then applied a single coat of sanding sealer, which I denibbed with a non-abrasive Scotch pad. Up next, Yorkshire grit abrasive paste, just a single coat, thoroughly cleaned away with paper towel. Then the resin polishing. First up, Polar Shine 10, a single application, thoroughly cleaned away. Then Polar Shine 5, also thoroughly cleaned away with more paper towel. And to finish, Hampshire Sheen Gloss Finishing Wax, 2 coats, polished off to leave a nice deep shine. That's it, another project finished, and whilst this is a fairly simple one, I really like the sunny orange resin and how it contrasts against the offcuts, and I hope you like it too. I'd like to thank you all for watching, and please give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and comments are always welcome. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye for now.